So I hear that they are about to start searching this man's ranch. Not his island, his ranch, for evidence.
Investigators are searching through the former ranch of Jeffrey Epstein over allegations it may have been used for criminal activity. We're talking about Zorro Ranch. You probably have heard of it. He used to own it. It's just like, maybe half an hour outside Santa Fe. New Mexico's Justice Department says it conducted a search yesterday in cooperation with the ranch's...
It's a damn crater out there.
It's just like, maybe...
Construction, maybe.
Half an hour outside Santa Fe. New Mexico's Justice Department says it conducted a search yesterday in cooperation with the ranch's new owners. You'll remember that the state attorney general had reopened an investigation into the ranch last month after it was closed in 2019. Following new allegations from the Epstein files, the AG did not specify which allegations, but some of the documents recently released by the DOJ included an email to a local radio host alleging, I'm quoting here, somewhere in the hills outside the Zorro, 2 foreign girls were buried on orders of Jeffrey and Madam G. Now, no evidence has surfaced to confirm these allegations, and attorneys for Ghislaine Maxwell did not immediately return our request for comment. Ryan Reilly.
I wonder, because I don't know who owns the ranch, but I remember hearing a really rich guy talk about going to certain castles in Europe. And he said you could feel the negative energy there, as if they somehow cultivated it and wanted that dark energy there. My mom went on a trip. She took a European trip. And I remember she went to like England, France, Germany, Denmark, Sweden. And I remember she told me that they had a tour of the concentration camps. And she said it was like you could feel the death there. You know what I'm saying? I wonder, depending on what he allegedly did there, if you move in somewhere where he's been, do you feel it? You know what I'm saying? I think we have more senses than what scientists account for. Sometimes we are just, I know you've all met someone, something just didn't feel right about that person. Or you've been somewhere, something didn't feel right about where you were and you left. And then you either found out something happened shortly after you left, or things have been happening there and it was not a good place to be. You know what I mean? I remember reading somewhere, and I don't know what it was. It was an article, and I remember it was years ago, and it said that scientists know that there is an energy that humans communicate on, but they haven't found it yet. They know it exists, but they haven't found it yet. Now, I assume it's what gives us premonitions and, the type of stuff where you haven't seen a friend in 9 months and you think of them. Like, yeah, I got to give him a call. And then they call you the next day. Or you're running to him at the gas station the next day. It's like, yo, how's it? I think there's something to that. You know what I mean? I wonder, though.
Is covering this one for us. So let's talk it through. There's been a lot of attention.
I've heard some people have energy clearings when they move in someplace new. They have someone come in and kind of make sure the energy of the house is right, because you don't know who was living there and what they had with them. You know what I'm saying?
On, obviously, Epstein's Island. There's been a lot of attention on the New York townhouse that he owned. And now it feels like the spotlight has shifted to this Zorro ranch here, right?
Exactly. So there's this Truth Commission that's operating. It's a multi-million-dollar investigation.
This is through the New Mexico State Legislature.
Correct. Right. Aimed at looking at what exactly went wrong in terms of what could they have missed in state laws that could have been improved or fixed to prevent this from happening.
By the way, that was only fairly recently opened, right? Exactly. After the release of the DOJ documents.
Exactly right. And so, I mean, when you're talking, it's a little bit, I think, as you read in sort of that intro there, there's questions about what exactly they're zeroing in on. But I think that this is meant to sort of create give some answers to the public rather than necessarily, at the moment at least, based on what we know, focused on any individual criminal charges. Of course, you can't charge Epstein because he's dead, but
Is he?
that's basically what they're trying to do, is get at some of the truth of this and reveal what gaps there might be in state law.
In other words, if there were any other co-conspirators, kind of thing.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
I think going to, it's very sort of early on, but the nice thing is that they have a pretty tight timeline for when they're actually going to get the report out. So this isn't going to be one of those investigations that just goes on forever.
Yeah.
We don't really have an answer. There will be some sort of public result in this investigation, and the Democratic AG is very focused, on this.
But we get the truth, no matter what it is.
Survivors have been pushing, some of them, for this investigation, including the family of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who, of course, is Jeffrey Epstein's one of his most prominent accusers here. You talk about the timeline being somewhat, would you call it accelerated or at least contained, right?
Contained, yeah. I think, when they limit themselves to a number of certain months, then I think that's certainly, there's a little bit of an expedited basis there. But a deadline can sometimes push you, as we as journalists know. If you have a deadline you got to face down, you got to produce a product by that point. So this isn't something that could just be stalled forever.
Ryan Reilly, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
We thank you for watching.
Wow, man. I tell you, it seems like the majority of the news has been compromised by what's going on over in Iran and stuff like that. But people are still talking about this. People still want to know. And I know people still ain't going to let go, no matter what happens. People ain't going to let go of this. Man. All right, y'all.